Indian Lake.
Good morning. This is Northern Light for Monday, September 18th. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe.
Several North Country horses have tested positive for Eastern equine encephalitis.
And ultimately, it is a not treatable disease. So the only way we can treat for it is to prevent it with vaccination.
Kara Chapman spoke with horse and health experts about the rare disease.
Also, New York's homegrown cannabis industry is complaining that the state's botched rollout of the legalization of the drug has left them near bankruptcy.
We gave everything we have. We have nothing left. Absolutely nothing.
More from State House reporter Karen DeWitt just ahead. Also, music and conversation with Johnsburg singer-songwriter Sven Kurth. He's just released a new album.
I'd say if there's a theme behind this album, it's sort of a social critique of our modern age, a loss of personal interaction. But I like to have a lot of fun, too.
All that's coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us.
Broadcast of Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio is supported by the Village Mercantile, Saranac Lake, partnering with local nonprofit organizations to sell their merchandise through their e-commerce store. More at villagemerc.com. And by Apothecary Chocolates, making gourmet chocolates by hand from all natural herbs, botanicals, and tree syrups. apothecarychocolates.com.
This is Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski.
And I'm Todd Moe. Several North Country horses have tested positive for Eastern equine encephalitis this summer. The virus is spread by mosquitoes. So far, no human cases have been reported in the region or throughout New York State. Champlain Valley reporter Kara Chapman spoke with health and horse experts about the disease.
Eastern equine encephalitis, known as Triple E, is a rare but serious disease that can cause brain inflammation. In the North Country this year, 3 horses in St. Lawrence County and 1 each in Franklin and Clinton counties have tested positive. Karen Lassell is the equine manager at the William H. Minor Agricultural Institute in Shazy. She says the disease causes horses to have a fever, go off their feed, and experience neurologic symptoms. Those are things like an inability to swallow, loss of balance, and tremors. It can also be fatal for them.
And ultimately, it is a not treatable disease. So the only way we can treat for it is to prevent it with vaccination.
Lassell says the Minor Institute vaccinates its horses against Triple E every year.
So I'm not terribly afraid of it all the time, but certainly I'm aware of it being local and had been wondering with the mosquito population being seemingly higher this year than recent years.
Can you talk a bit about that, like how the case numbers in the region for this year compare to, previous years?
I've spoken with both our local veterinarians, so we use Palmer's Veterinary Clinic here in Plattsburgh, and then as well have communicated with Dr. Smith, who is a state veterinarian with Ag and Markets, and she covers the northeast region of New York State. And certainly there's always a few cases each year. There's definitely been a few more so far, and they've come further north and east in the state than they have in a long time. So, that's kind of definitely put us on a little bit higher alert.
One of the most recent cases we've heard about was the horse in Schuyler Falls testing positive for EEE, and Schuyler Falls is in Clinton County, like Shazy, where the Minor Institute is. So does that worry you at all or change anything about the day-to-day, or because, your horses are vaccinated, are you pretty comfortable with that?
Well, certainly pretty comfortable with our vaccination status. Our horses are vaccinated annually, and we do it at a time in the spring such that hopefully they're hitting peak immunity about when the mosquitoes are really also hitting their peak of the season. We do also put fly spray and bug repellents on the horses that are outside at times. And then, we always are keeping an eye out for any horse that looks like they're behaving a little bit differently, because there's other mosquito-borne diseases, too, that can happen this time of year, or other bug diseases. So we'll be watching for if any horse certainly decides not to eat or just seems lethargic or depressed. we're going to jump in really quickly to try to figure out what might be going on.
I'm wondering if you've heard, why this year in particular. I've heard it described as like actually a banner year for EEE, not just in New York, but also Vermont and other like northeastern states. Have you heard about what's causing it?
Most things that I've read or seen about that is definitely the mosquitoes, that it's been warmer and wetter than it has in recent years, and we just have a overflow of mosquitoes. So we have, the ability to transfer it is moving that much farther and faster than normal years.
Still, even though New York has seen several triple E cases in horses this year, there haven't been any human cases. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, there's an average of 11 in the whole country reported each year. So far in 2023, there have been 6, all in southern states. Like with horses, triple E can cause a variety of symptoms in humans. Molly Flynn with the Clinton County Health Department says those can include fever, vomiting, seizures, behavioral changes, or coma.
Typically, if you're under 15 or over 50, you're more likely to develop a severe form of triple E.
But unlike for horses, there's no human vaccine for triple E. There are also no medications to treat it. Flynn says it is very rare. There have only been 8 cases in New York State over the last 20 years. But it's still worth protecting yourself from mosquito bites. Flynn says that's not just using insect repellent and covering your skin when you're outside.
Make sure that all the screens in your home, on the windows and doors, are free of rips, tears, holes, things like that, to keep them out of your home. And a really big one, especially this summer, because it's been a very wet summer for us, is eliminating standing water in and around your home. That's where mosquitoes breed. So they actually lay their eggs in water, and those little baby mosquitoes grow up in the water environment. It takes about a week. So you want to make sure you're eliminating the standing water weekly around your house. So that means your roof gutters, make sure they're draining properly. You're cleaning them out at least a couple times a year. You want to turn over and dump the water out of anything that holds stagnant water in your yard. So spare tires, buckets, planters, kids' toys and pools, bird baths, flower pots, trash cans, those kind of things, because that standing water is where those mosquitoes are actually going to breed. And then clearing the vegetation and waste from the edge of your ponds.
And Molly, so it's my understanding that, Eastern equine encephalitis, it can be pretty serious, but it's still pretty rare. You said that there haven't been any cases in New York State this year. There have really only been like a couple handfuls over the past couple decades or so. So how worried do people really have to be about getting it?
So again, you're right. It's rather rare, but it is pretty serious when it does happen. It's certainly something that comes up every summer that we want to make sure that we're aware of. And it's just really another good reminder that we have those vector-borne diseases in our area, so things that are transmitted by mosquitoes, by ticks.
Flynn says those tick-borne illnesses include Lyme disease and anaplasmosis. She says Clinton County is seeing more human cases of both, and part of the reason is climate change.
Now that our winters don't get as cold, more ticks are surviving through that winter season, which means they're around again in the springtime, and they're a little bit older, a little bit bigger. So we're seeing an increase in ticks in our area and subsequently tick-borne illnesses.
Flynn says mosquito-borne diseases, like triple E, may also increase as warmer fall temperatures extend their season. Kara Chapman, North Country Public Radio.
You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's 9 minutes past 8. Good morning. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. Stick around. Music and conversation with Johnsburg musician Sven Kurth just ahead. Also, do not forget, it's the Beat Authority Dance Party this Friday from 3 to 5. Join David Summerstein for a live broadcast of the Beat Authority at Racket River Brewing in Tupper Lake. Enjoy great beats from all over the world, giveaways, and tons of fun this Friday from 3 to 5. The Beat Authority live radio broadcast from Racket River Brewing in Tupper Lake.
Music by Mark Corey in Watertown. Check out more of Mark's music. He's part of the Underscore Project on our website. You'll find it at ncpr.org/underscore. Northern Light, supported by St. Lawrence Health, offering My Care, a way for patients to access health information and stay connected to their care team. Registration is available at stlawrencehealthsystem.org. And by Adirondack Experience, the museum on Blue Mountain Lake, presenting a full season of events and activities, now open 7 days a week. Tickets at theadkx.org.
A woman was denied abortion care at the Jefferson County Jail last fall. That's according to an investigation by the Office of New York's Attorney General Letitia James. It found that the healthcare staff and medical director at Jefferson County Correctional Facility refused to provide abortion care to a pregnant woman by canceling appointments and pressuring the woman to cancel her procedure. The woman did receive an abortion a month later than originally scheduled. The AG's investigation found that the jail staff were inadequately trained on reproductive health care rights. It also found the jail's policies around reproductive health care to be lacking. In the wake of the investigation, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office made an agreement with the AG's office. By the end of this year, it must adopt new policies guaranteeing incarcerated individuals' right to care, including abortions, pregnancy, screenings, and pre- and postnatal care. The jail staff will also undergo training on reproductive rights. The Office of the Attorney General will be monitoring the Jefferson County Correctional Facility for the next 5 years to make sure they are compliant.
Support staff at the UVM Medical Center in Burlington are calling for better working conditions. Support staff include janitors, phlebotomists, and people who check you in. At a press conference last week, they asked for better safety measures and a fair wage. Support staff currently make less than $20 an hour. As NBC5 reported, phlebotomist Heather Bauman said staff are regularly attacked by patients and cannot afford the healthcare support they help support, the healthcare they help support. The press conference follows the center's technical staff unionizing in January and 5 months of negotiations with the UVM Medical Center's administration. The administration said in a statement that they plan to increase the wages of support staff in the next 2 years. The groups will meet again this week to negotiate.
State lawmakers are calling for a veterans home to be built in the North Country. There are currently 4 state-run veterans homes in New York State. They're for older, retired veterans who need more medical care. But the nearest one to the North Country is in Oxford, New York, just north of Binghamton. Patrick Rourke, the chaplain at the American Legion Post in Norwood, told WWNY-TV that's too far.
I know of cases where the spouse went every day. Going to Oxford from here every day, it's a gross impossibility.
New York State Senator Mark Walczyk and Assemblyman Ken Blankenbush say there are about 20,000 veterans living in Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence counties alone. They recently sent a letter to the governor's office asking for a veterans home to be built closer to the North Country. They also sent a letter in 2021.
There are more complaints about New York's botched legal cannabis rollout last week as dozens of farmers and retail store license holders told the state's Cannabis Control Board that bureaucratic delays and court injunctions have pushed them to the brink of bankruptcy. Karen DeWitt reports.
The state's authorization program for retail stores to sell cannabis for adult recreational use is far behind schedule. 160 stores should have been open by now, but there are just 23 that are operational.
We gave everything we have. We have nothing left. Absolutely nothing.
Zamia Lewis fought back tears as she recounted the bureaucratic snags and legal setbacks that delayed the opening of her family's planned cannabis dispensary. Lewis was eligible for the first round of licenses in the state's social equity program because she or someone in her family was adversely affected by the decades-long prohibition of the drug and was convicted of a marijuana-related offense. Lewis told the Cannabis Control Board members that they even spent their son's college tuition to rent 2 locations that have yet to be authorized to open.
We're paying rent on our location, on 2 locations, and we have no more money. We don't know what the future holds.
Further complicating matters, a recent court order. It temporarily halted the granting of the rest of the social equity licenses. The judge ruled that the Office of Cannabis Management erred when it prioritized those with criminal records for marijuana use or sale over other traditionally disenfranchised groups named in the initial 2021 law that legalized cannabis, like service-disabled veterans and women and minority-owned businesses. Meanwhile, farmers who were granted licenses to grow cannabis in 2022 have had almost nowhere to sell their crops. Farmer Catherine Miller says she's fed up with all of the bureaucratic red tape and lack of guidance and communication from the OCM.
Unfortunately, we're often left operating in a vacuum. Emails go unanswered. We have no point of contact. When we have questions, we reach out, and it's nothing. I can't tell you the amount of emails I have sent and have gotten zero response.
Further compounding matters, the farmers and retail licensees say in December, large international corporate cannabis companies will be allowed to enter New York's market. Several speakers pleaded with the board to delay that date. They say those companies, known as medically registered organizations, or ROs for short, have several advantages that they do not, like access to capital and permission to grow their crops indoors, which result in more frequent and bigger yields. Renee St. Jacques with the New York Farm Bureau says allowing the big companies to open dispensaries later this year will push out the smaller farmers who were granted licenses under the social equity program.
We see issue after issue, so many barriers that our farmers have to face, and I'm just echoing the voices in this room that they need your help, and allowing the ROs to come in is not the answer. It is the issue. And it's just going to push the farmers out, just like you've seen in other states.
Members of the board listened to the complaints, but they didn't comment publicly. Governor Kathy Hochul, who's been in office for 2 years, cast blame on her predecessor, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, and the state legislature, who set up the regulatory framework for the legal cannabis rollout.
I inherited a framework that was passed and enacted before my time. We are working to implement it.
Hochul also blamed those who brought the lawsuit that resulted in the injunction. She says larger corporate entities from outside the state are behind those legal challenges and have caused further delays. In Albany, I'm Karen DeWitt.
It's time to vote for your favorite toy. The National Toy Hall of Fame, based at the Strong Museum in Rochester, has announced this year's finalists for induction. WXXI's Randy Gorman has details.
The Cabbage Patch Kids. Each doll is different, and you can pretend to adopt them.
Whether Ken gets to join Barbie, who was inducted into the hall back in 1998, will depend on voting by a panel of experts and the general public. On Wednesday, the Toy Hall of Fame announced a dozen finalists, including older toys like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Cabbage Patch Kids, and the Ken doll, certainly an older toy, but one that's getting more attention after his co-starring role in the new Barbie movie. Chris Bench is the Strong Museum's vice president for collections. He says this is not just about kids' games. It's about having fun with toys and games at any age.
Whether you're growing up or you're growing older, having play integrated into your lifespan and into your activities is crucial for personality and mood and general happiness.
Other finalists this year include Battleship, Bingo, baseball cards, and slime. The inductees will be announced on November 9th. For North Country Public Radio, I'm Randy Gorman.
listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. I'm Todd Moe.
And I'm Monica Sandreski. In just a minute, roses, unsent letters, and skepticism are all part of Sven Kurth's new album. More in a moment. Then stick around after the show for Bird Note, distinguishing the calls of two common finches. That's coming up at 8:42. But first, Todd has a look at the weather for us.
According to the Weather Service, increasing clouds and some scattered rain today, tonight, probably tomorrow as well. Then clearing skies Wednesday and Thursday. Light winds out of the southeast today with highs upper 60s, low 70s, lows in the 50s overnight tonight. And then tomorrow, about a 20-30% chance of scattered rain, highs mid-60s on Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday, mostly sunny, highs upper 60s, low 70s, and then Friday and Saturday, partly to mostly sunny with highs in the mid-70s. Right now, clouds and in Canton and 58 degrees.
Johnsburg singer-songwriter Sven Kurth admits that every couple of years he puts the songs he's been writing together into an album. And he actually says on his website, "I love and hate every step of the process."
But he also admits that it brings him joy when people relate to his music. That's what happened to me. Sven Kurth released a new album this month and sent me one of the tracks. It's called Smell the Roses. I was hooked, and I wanted to learn more. Sven Kurth was born in Johnsburg in the southern Adirondacks. His dad was a forest ranger, and he spent his high school years in the 80s in Lake Placid. He traveled and recorded 5 albums with his rock band, Jim. These days, he lives and writes music back in Johnsburg, and I caught up with him by phone last week to talk about his new album, Irreveries, and specifically the tune Smell the Roses.
I think it started from maybe an article I read about the 100 most successful people or something like that. And it just got me thinking that money and wealth really shouldn't be the only metric that we measure success by, right? So kind of going down that exploratory road, my sister had recently had her first child, and I was sort of thinking as an uncle, what kind of advice I might hand out that might be worth anything. And it just turned into a kind of snowballed piece about, kind of a whole worldview and what success is. What gauge do we use for that? Other than just finance. I mean, there's all these wealthy people on this list, but are they interesting? Do they have, compassion, integrity, other important aspects of life, that kind of thing.
I'm not a bit impressed with what you do for work. Don't care about your income or your benefits or perks. I'll never like you better for the car you choose to drive. Indeed, I might hold it against you if you flaunt that fancy ride. Clothes you wear, your zip code,
father was a forest ranger. I already mentioned that. His close friend, Bill Hauk, the ranger around Brant Lake area, had a quote that my dad is very fond of repeating, which was something to the extent of, do your living with your working, because there's no guarantee there will be a tomorrow. So, everybody has to work. Everybody's got to make a living, but, you got to take advantage of the spaces you have when you can. I adore the Adirondacks. I wouldn't leave for the world.
what's in store for me. Why on earth should I even care? If being alive requires more from me than being awake and being aware. Whoa.
Tell me about Kester and Ricky. These are the two other musicians on the new album.
We used to play in a bluegrass band together called Swimming with Champy, also out of Lake Placid. And I just recently recruited them for this song because I hadn't written a lot in the bluegrass genre, but as soon as I did have one here, I obviously had to recruit the old pals. So Kester has a long experience playing fiddle out west. She was in a band called Steam Powered Airplane out there in Wyoming, and Ricky played an upright track for me, and he was our bass player in gym for years. So yeah, they did a fantastic job, and I'm banjo and vocals and guitar and all the rest.
Not sure when it came to be. The whole world circumvented me. I can't quite place the point in time. Real life became a pantomime. One day we were all alive and here. The next we all just disappeared. All our faces, all our dreams, drowned in blue light from our screens. And the sun goes down.
The title of the new album is Irreveries, and I'll be honest, I had to Google the word Irreveries to kind of figure out what was going on there. So I want to let you.
I don't think it is a word.
I know.
think it's just a mishmash of irreverent and reveries.
Right. Kind of wickedly satiric, maybe?
Maybe a little bit. I think the word irreverent has come up more than once in descriptions of my music, both by me and by, reviews and things like that. So it felt right. One of my favorite things is just dabbling in different genres. So I'd say if there's a theme behind this album, it's sort of a social critique of our modern age, a loss of personal interaction, because of this digital world and posturing and social media and all this stuff. So that's sort of an underlying theme, but I like to have a lot of fun too. And there's some darker elements and lighter elements, but yeah, that's sort of the weave of the whole thing. Being a musician, I've been a musician in the Adirondacks my whole life. I sort of gave up on trying to do it full stop professionally, but it's got its rewards and its drawbacks, but it's kind of a relentless psychotic obsession, I guess, that I have to keep working on. So I enjoy doing it, and it hasn't really paid off yet, but yeah, I won't hold my breath.
And then when someone like me writes back and says, "Can I interview you?"
That's when it all comes together. I love that.
Will you stop and smell the roses? Will you listen to the wind? Will you keep up with the Joneses or explore the world you're in? With compassion, can you walk a mile in someone else's shoes? Will you take the road less traveled? Will you live the life you choose?
Johnsburg musician Sven Kurth's new album is Irreveries, and you'll find more on his website, Sven Kurth, CURTH, SvenKurth.com. And that's it for Northern Light for this Monday, the 18th of September.
Morning Edition continues in just a couple of minutes. Then stick around later this morning for 1A. The conversation is about Google's power and the biggest tech monopoly trial in 25 years. That conversation coming up between 10 and noon right here on North Country Public Radio. I'm Monica Sandreski.
I'm Todd Moe. Thanks for joining us. Be well.